Thank you for all tuning in. Today I am back with our lovely guest, Jacquie Grillon, a mentor, healer, and transformational expert. How are you doing today, Jacquie?
I'm doing well, and you're probably the only person who's ever pronounced my name correctly. So good on you.
Well, I try not to brag about this publicly. At birth, I was a Doucette.
Ah,
My mother gave me her last name, and as an adult, I went, "Nuh-uh, that is a no, thank you." Oh.
I'll pass.
Where did your own healing begin?
Uh, Probably when I I say forced to get sober, but I don't think you can force somebody to get it sober. But probably when I finally surrendered to the fact that I needed help in that area would be the day where, everything changed, right? Because I can't heal anything if I'm not conscious.
That certainly adds multiple layers of difficulty to the whole healing process of not
Yeah.
cognitively being in your body, like in the numbing out and disassociation of
Yes.
substance
And
use
I
of any
was
kind.
Yes, I was the queen of dissociation, only I didn't even know it. I was sober 4 or 5 years before I emotionally bottomed out, and I thought I was doing wonderful and awesome. And my life got so much better because, of course, you get sober and you clean yourself up and you're not medicating. But all the reasons that you did medicate start coming up to the surface. It's like you got a little grace, life gets better, and then all those reasons start bubbling up because they didn't go anywhere. What you medicated did not go anywhere. So,
Well, exactly. I got clean. I stopped drinking 12 minimum a day when I was 20. But then all the other problems bubbled. I was still in
yeah.
a toxic relationship, and it wasn't until that ended that I found like the final pillars of my emotional freedom.
Oh, good on you. I'm still finding the final pillars of my emotional freedom. I mean, I love when I get free of an issue or a situation or a trigger or whatever else, but I still have triggers. I still have whatever and that's my work and everybody has their work or what
Right?
have you, but I do I do enjoy the peace that follows and the joy and the freedom that follows that or whatever. It's never comfortable to be in the pain of it,
Mhm.
but I've said I was healed lots of times over. I'm completely healed. I don't need anything or anybody anymore in different areas of my life, only for life to remind me how not healed I was in that area. And that's how I get leveled. Sometimes, like right now in this conversation, and I've said it a million times, I don't even know where I'm full of crap right now. Like, I don't even know what I'm in denial about right now, but I bet you it's something. I bet you in 5 years from now, I'm going to be like, hey, remember when I was hanging out with Reese that day and I said this? Like, how full of crap I was.
Right? Well,
But
and
you can't
and
fix what you don't know. Like you can't acknowledge it if you don't even know what it is.
well, exactly. And like none of us are ever perfect. And it
For
is
sure.
a continuous journey, but it's that commitment to every time you see a flaw or you're doing something harmful to yourself, you're going to sit
Yeah.
with it. And eventually, when you're ready, you're going to work on it. It's
Hopefully. I
not,
mean, that's
well,
what I do.
hopefully,
Right?
like,
Yeah. A lot of
like
people don't.
I know, even myself, that there were years where I was the entire problem, but my head was so far up my own ass, I couldn't
Of
see
course.
that.
Of course.
Like
Listen, I
first the
know
legal
all about that.
blindness, and then my head
Yeah.
was up my ass. Like couldn't see anything, didn't smell great.
Yeah, I was the queen of like, I'm a know-it-all. Only the interesting part about being a know-it-all is that the people who actually know about the thing that you think you know that you're full of crap. They
Right.
know it and they're polite and they don't say anything, and which I guess I'm grateful for now. But it's like you don't realize until later. I remember a mentor of some sort, had a box with four, put a cross on the middle of a piece of paper. And it's like you're either in one of these boxes, right? You're in, you don't know. That's when you're in denial, right? And then the next box is, and you're like, oh. Okay, now I got to do something. And then the next box is you don't know that you know. So you're walking through all the muck and everything, but you don't know that you actually are. You do know what's going on, but you don't trust yourself enough because the first one leveled you. And then
Yeah,
the last box is you know. So I kind of love those little box things. I can relate to different areas.
right. Well, then, and even when clients come to me now, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're an expert in this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I like know all about the science, know all about the application, but ultimately, this is not like a master subordinate relationship. I'm here to walk beside you and help hold your hand while you
Yeah,
work through your own crap, and I'm really just here as a mentor of sorts. Like, no, I'm not going to gatekeep you. I'm just going to give you all the information I can to help you in
right,
your process because it's not about me,
right. And
right?
that's the thing, not co-signing. Like people who come to me are not coming for me to tell them the answers or for me to fix it because, I did that for a lot of years. Like I went to all kinds of outside sources and I wanted them to take things out of me and fix me and heal me and all to find out that, it always comes back to us. It's always an inside job, right? We know that. I do find it interesting that a lot of whether they're therapists, credentialed or non-credentials, coaches, mentors, my whole mission is to be of maximum service, whatever that looks like, and to be able to witness and hold space for others. But that alone, with everything else out there in social media land that gets oversaturated word wise or term wise or quote wise. But when people say about holding space, I take that very seriously because you can only hold space to the degree in which you've gone to your own
Hmm.
pain. And so
Yeah.
if you haven't done your own work, I don't care if you're a paid therapist making, 6 or 7 figures or coach or whatever. If you've only, worked through your own process trauma to here, that's all you can hold space for. So if the person you're working with or paying you needs to go here, you're doing them a disservice because you can't deep dive to that place. So, that's where, I think education for people who need to go through the work and
Hmm.
finding the person that you do resonate with, like really on a deep soul level, as deep
Hmm.
as you can possibly go to resonate before you choose them. Because, I've went through a lot of people who could not hold space for me. And I just needed to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was so lucky to have been able to be aligned with people who could hold that space because I see it all over the place now. People are like, "Oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm going to walk you through this and walk you through that." And they haven't even processed their own stuff. So there's no way they can hold space for you to do it. So, and when I say that for people who don't understand what the whole what's holding space thing, that means create a safe container so you can go to those places, that you feel safe enough to go to those places, because that's the whole point. If I didn't feel safe enough with the people who walked me through everything that I've had to walk through, I wouldn't have been able to heal it. I wouldn't have been able to dive as deep as I did. And then once I did heal it, I wouldn't be able to hold space to create a safe container to help you create your own safety, because that's the goal. We're helping them to create their own safety so they don't have to seek outside for others. They can hold that space for themselves, but they have to have safe mentors, therapists, counselors, whoever is helping them. And the only way to do that is, unfortunately, for them to do a deep dive.
It exactly. Everyone that works with me goes, "No, Reese, we've known you since you were 13, and your life was really fucked up. And now you're this bundle of joy that is genuinely enjoying life. You've
Yeah,
healed enough, and that's why every week I sit in your chair. It's because you're gonna guide me through it and hold me accountable, and even at times
exactly.
go, hey, fucker, why did you do the thing that harmed you? You knew
Exactly.
better than that. Why did you take that action?"
Because they wanted to.
Well, exactly. And generally they go, well, I was being impulsive or whatever. But
Right.
it's even when I'm straight shooting like that, it's not from a place of judgment. It's from a
Oh,
place of
no.
accountability.
Of course,
And
of course.
luckily they understand that. They're like, no, we need accountability. That's how you actually do the work and keep doing the
Change.
work
Yeah.
even when you don't feel like it. Believe
Yeah.
me,
I
the
mean, listen, I
recovery
don't feel
burnout
like
is real.
For sure. Listen,
I,
there's plenty of times I don't feel like doing whatever I'm re in resistance about. And that could be anything, you know? So I get it, you know, and it's fine. Like nobody's trying to get you out of resistance, you know? Sometimes I do need to be pushed and nudged, and other times I need to allow that resistance, you know, and only the people that love and I trust and value, and same back and forth, uh, that's where we have those safe containers.
well, exactly. I mean, for me, I had a very distant parent, and the other parent was out of the picture.
Same.
But I had through all of the different phases of my life, I had a mother hen friend that was old enough to be my mom that was always looking over my shoulder, going, "Hey, clean up your act. Come on, come on, do it. You have so much potential. Clean up."
That's
And
awesome.
like all of them, I think it totals between 6 and 8, which makes it sound like a lesbian harem, but it was not. It was just women that oversaw me through all the different chapters of my youth. And it's like, no, without them, I wouldn't be the mama bear that I am today.
Right.
Like my kids came from social work, but I guard them as if they came out of me.
I'm sure.
It's like, no,
That's great that you had that kind of love and guidance and life angels like looking out for you or whatever else. Like other people weren't so lucky. Like I viewed my childhood as normal, but it was anything but normal. And now from a different lens, even, piecing together even the ADHD piece of like 99% of my personality is my ADHD. And I was basically told, don't be you, you know?
yeah,
What do you do with
exactly.
that? What do you do with that?
Right. Well, and even going through it, like I thought my life was so normal until I realized all the things that were actually deeply traumatic. And it was
Yeah,
like, oh my goodness. Looking back at that at 18, going, how did I survive?
because our
And
bodies are brilliant and they have
yeah,
brilliant coping
it
mechanisms,
it
and we have
exactly.
all these little sub personalities that come in to protect us during those times. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of those little ones for protecting me. But that wasn't their job, just
Well,
like
exactly.
you know,
Like our biomechanisms actually saved our lives, but it was the strength to heal and move forward that made them worth living.
absolutely. Totally agree.
Because like you wouldn't be here smiling if you hadn't worked through your crap yet. It wouldn't look
Absolutely.
genuine. Like I'd be able to see it in your eyes.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And be like, no, Jackie's not okay. No, everybody, Jackie looks fine. Jackie looks happy.
Yeah. And that's always fun too, where you're on, other people's shows or even working with other people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've walked through all of this stuff and whatever else." And just like what I was saying earlier, when I was a know-it-all and would say that I knew all these things, the people on the other side that did know about what I didn't know, like sat there politely and didn't say anything. And now I find myself doing that with others sometimes. Like I need to allow people to have their process, just like other people allowed me to have my process. Um, but of course, the direct, no nonsense Jersey part of me wants to be like, are you kidding me? Are you for real right now? But that in some cases, that's where I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know where you're ripping somebody's safety blanket out off. And I don't know if they needed that safety blanket for their survival. So you kind of have to let it be.
Well, exactly. And in those instances, you tackle it in much more of a gentle, roundabout way
Yes,
where
for
you're
sure.
talking about it, but you're not talking about it. And
Yes,
often
yes.
they don't realize until the
Yeah.
conversation's been done and it hits them from the view of, wow, that person really cared about my well-being today, and that conversation has split me open in a good way.
I mean, that
But
would
it's
be a
it
great
it's
hope, but you
the
never
the
know.
tact to know what and when to say to each individual. I've never had the same conversation in a coaching chair twice. I
Oh
use a
no. And I
different
never
analogy
wanted.
for every
Yeah,
person.
of
And
course.
and some of them are accidentally strange, but then it hits the right way and the person goes, "No, you knew exactly what to say." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was making that one up. It worked. I was lucky."
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where I guess intuition and your own, internal knowing or whatever that is for you, comes into play. That's why I'll never have, or, at least I say that for now. Like, I've never wanted a course or a cookie cutter or anything. I like to do like lives. I like to do live groups and things like that. And I even have different kinds because some people are into like woo and other people are like not
Hmm.
so woo,
Hmm.
so, but everybody still needs the different levels of whatever it is that they need. And I like to hold space for that kind of thing. But if I have my way, it'll always be some kind of lives. Even if it's just
Hmm.
the group gets
Hmm.
bigger, um, I think it's just a more hands-on approach to connect is just missing in today's world, with, courses
Exactly.
and things like that.
I'm the same way. You won't see me publish a course that I'm not acting in every one of those videos with the participants. And I do a lot
Exactly.
of differently structured one-on-one, but I'm also launching some more like discussion and more informational series to help
Awesome.
people learn about the actual process of healing and pair with my new book, Becoming Blissful,
Awesome.
because there are lots of people who want the knowledge before they dive in. They need the security of, okay, this is the ride that I'm in for. And had I had that, I wouldn't have been as afraid to actually deep dive. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
for
been in
sure.
and out of counseling since I was 11 years old.
Yeah,
I
same.
am
I just
pushing 30.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I didn't start, first of all, I didn't get sober until I was like 32. And, of course, my parents had me in counseling because there was always something wrong with me. And, but I never was honest. And even if I was honest, I never felt heard and I wasn't allowed to be myself. So, once I started getting honest and I walked into the therapist office, that would be the safe space. I knew the minute that I walked in, it was a safe. She didn't even have to open her mouth, and I
Hmm.
already knew it was a safe space. I knew that I was going to. She would know all my dirty. She would know everything about me, and I found that freeing and terrifying at the same time.
Right? Like mortifying of, oh my God, I trust this person so much and I don't know them yet.
At all,
Yeah.
right?
And I luckily I met that one in grade 11, right before I was paralyzed.
Wow,
Yeah. And luckily I made a 98% recovery. I still have my bad days, but on a good day I'm good.
that's awesome.
But I not found that counselor to walk me through that and the murder of my best friend 4 months later,
Yeah, that's heavy
I
for a
probably
kid.
wouldn't have been walking. Because after that I had a partner that assaulted me for an entire summer. And that's where I segued into drinking as a teen.
Well, I mean, listen, if I had that going on, I'd be looking for an escape route as well. Who wouldn't? That's a
Exactly,
lot
exactly.
for
Everyone
for a
would,
kid.
especially before your prefrontal cortex is even half developed. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it was like, yeah, I'm glad that I had people nudging me very gently through the whole way. Because otherwise I probably wouldn't have had nightmares after publishing my first book about my death from my alcoholism. I was having brutal nightmares about how I would die if I continued to drink. And it's like, nope, this is enough to say, nope, this is from God or spirit or whatever. I need to
Listen,
fucking
the
clean
fact
up.
that you listened is a miracle. So
Yeah.
good for you.
Well,
That's
I
huge.
woke up like literally sweating and crying because it was like,
I get it.
no, I knew.
Yeah,
And luckily I had that nudge of no, do it. Like learn to
that's
not be a raging alcoholic.
that's awesome. No,
And
I wasn't a raging alcoholic. The rage came out later after I got sober, after I quit smoking, because I was fine. I
oh,
was still
yep.
cigarettes. I got sober. As soon as I put down cigarettes at like 40 years sober, that's when the rage came out. That's when you couldn't hide behind anything anymore because you'd given it all up. That's what actually landed me in the therapist chair.
Yep. Good old nicotine.
Gotta love it. I didn't realize how much I hid behind it, because I was like, oh my God, this getting sober thing isn't as bad as I thought it would be. And then here, like I said, 4 years sober, you might as well tell me I was putting down heroin because that was the hardest thing I ever had to put down to this day was nicotine. And now sugar is right behind it. Sugar is a good right up there with nicotine um and having to balance that because you kind of need food in your diet. So
Yeah.
trying to balance that. The nicotine, like it never turned on me where alcohol and drugs did. Cigarettes were my best friend since I was 13 years old. So why would I want to give them up? I smoke every single day of my life for 23 years successfully and had no issues. So why would I ever put that down? So yeah, that was the hardest thing that I ever had to because it didn't turn on me where I had a reason to put it down.
Yeah. And that's another one we don't talk about because everyone goes, quit smoking. Try that laser therapy. It'll help. And yes, for lots it does. But smoking is more habitualized and more socialized, especially in North America, to just
Yeah.
go have a smoke break, like clear your head, go get that puff. I only smoked like here and there from a friend in high school, but one time coming out of a hospital after a stay due to chronic illness, I came out smoking like a pack a week, and I was like, this is the most. But luckily, after 6 weeks, I went, no, I can't do this. I cannot choose a new crutch. But again, that's not normal. That I just went, no, no, I'm not leading down this. Most people would have just led down it for a while, years, maybe
Yeah,
decades.
well, that's the difference, right? Between somebody who's like a hard drinker versus an alcoholic or a hard smoker and an addict. They basically define addiction. I like Pia Melody's definition of addiction. She says that addiction is defined as anything to avoid intolerable reality.
Mhm.
So if your reality wasn't that intolerable, it probably wasn't an addiction, like that you could just put it down versus mine was I needed that
Yeah,
to survive.
exactly,
Like whatever
exactly.
the
And
addiction was I've had to put down, that's how it's felt for every one of the addictions, whether it was a man, a cigarette, or a drink. It was like, I'm going to die without this thing
hey,
or
I
person.
mean, we're all adults. I understand why a man can be addicting.
Yeah. And especially toxic ones, right? So if
Yeah,
that's what you come from, then, so that's like a whole nother, that's a series of podcasts and things,
well,
alone
exactly. Like
right
we could
there
talk for years.
for
Uh,
sure. Lots
and
and lots of topics about that kind
but
of
but
thing.
as you said it, it's like no, I didn't let that get to the point of addiction.
It's
It was just
awesome. You own
habitual at
it.
that point, and I went,
Yeah.
no, no, we're not slipping. And don't get me wrong, a couple times a year, someone will offer me a drag. I'll go, you know what? Yes, please. But
Yeah, but you
I
didn't lose
never
the
go as
ability to
far to
choose.
buying a pack.
Yeah. But that's awesome. Like I said, once you lose the ability to choose, that's when you've kind of crossed the line
Exactly.
into whatever
Exactly.
whatever
That
land it
is
is.
the threshold 100%.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be social media or whatever. Like, if you go on social media and you lost the ability to choose that you're going to put it down in an hour, you've stepped over the line. If,
Yeah.
whether it's workaholism or working out, like addiction doesn't have to be just drugs and
But
alcohol.
it can literally be anything that's just
Yeah.
helping you numb out from your reality that supposedly
Avoiding
is so
intolerable
bad you need
reality.
to escape
Exactly.
from. If you need to
Exactly.
escape that bad, call one of us. We will help you work through your prep so that you don't need to escape
But
anymore.
it's so much more fun for them to whatever it is, like do gaming 12 hours a day instead
Right?
of getting a job,
Like
or working
like
out to
I
the
am
point where
such a
your body's
nerd.
falling apart.
After my breakfast, before my workout, I throw my tunes on in my headphones and I sit on my couch and I drink my tea and I dance.
Oh, good for you.
It is like I feel like such a dork, but it's
Why is
like
that a dork? That's joy.
because I get caught and I get busted, and the
Yeah,
roommate is laughing hysterically, and it's like, hey, you caught me twerking today. Mind your own business. I
that's
was
all.
not getting paid.
You're just spreading joy wherever you go.
Well,
That's all.
and like that's what everyone has always said. Like before addiction, they were like, no, you were literal sunshine. They used to joke that rainbows and sunshine shoot out my ass.
Aw,
They do again
that's a
because I
compliment.
I wake up as a bundle of joy. And even this morning, I didn't want to do my hour of high intensity cardio. I didn't want to do it until there were 5 minutes left. But it was doing it because then the endorphins were balanced for the day,
Right.
and I got everything else I needed to do besides record 3 episodes of this podcast before
Okay.
noon.
That's awesome.
Like, and it's like, no, you self-care isn't bubble baths. It's not romantic nights by yourself. It's actually taking care of what you need to do to feel best for yourself day in and day out, whether you want to do it or not.
Right.
Yeah, the occasional bubble bath is nice. Maybe a candlelit dinner with your partner or by yourself, but it's actually just about taking care of yourself.
I agree. It's not, I used to think self-care was like getting manicures and going for massages, but self-care is like choosing me when it's hard, where everybody else is choosing something else. And I know that that's not serving me, and I have to stand on my own while everybody else tells me how I'm wrong and I shouldn't be doing that, or I'm selfish, or whatever it is that they're thinking or judging. But that's self-care for me is, choosing myself when it's easy, choosing myself when it's hard, just choosing myself regardless of what it appears to be to the outside world.
Right? See, and that's how you got back to yourself and overcame addiction. It was that choice of self.
For sure. Well, that and, whatever you believe in that's
Yeah,
bigger than us. There
exactly.
was a lot
Higher
of magic
power.
involved. It had nothing to do with my choices. That's for sure. My choices got me in trouble, but I was at least allowing life to have its way with me a little bit and allowed whatever that power is in to have a little magic in my life. So that's definitely made the world of difference. I'm not saying that I haven't had to walk through some, humble pie, and choked on a lot of things along the way, walking through all the pain and the healing. And, and that was my work. But there's been so much joy and magic and, and light and freedom and peace. And I never thought I even wanted peace. To me, peace was boring 30 years ago. And now peace is a priority.
See, and that's really beautiful because when peace becomes the priority, you let everything else fall to the wayside. The friendships that are nothing but drama,
Gotta
the
go.
relationships that don't sit right, the family members that you talk to out of obligation and not because you actually like maintaining the relationship.
Gotta go.
Eventually, you just wake the fuck up. You go, no, it's my health and my happiness matter.
Yeah. And
And
reciprocity,
yeah,
like I was in one-sided relationships, and when you finally make a decision to have reciprocal relationships, whether it's business or friendship or significant others, whatever the relationship is, it gets to be your choice, whatever that is. And mine, after doing all the work in one-sided relationships, and who asked me anyway? I was just keeping it going, not realizing I was the only one keeping it going. Now I will only have reciprocal relationships. And that doesn't mean like, girls that I sponsor in 12-step programs, who don't know any better. They don't have anything to offer, so that's different.
well,
Um,
exactly.
and
Like
and I'm
that's
being of
giving back
service.
and paying
Yeah,
forward.
that's where being of service or volunteering that,
Mhm.
I'm not asking for anything, but I still feel good in doing it. So I am
Well,
getting something.
well,
So to me, it
exactly.
still is reciprocal in some way, shape, or form. But if it's not feeding me or feeding my soul and it's not reciprocal and it's draining, I don't care if it's a phone conversation or whatever. It's no,
I mean, crap. There are people that I've worked with that couldn't afford to pay anyone a dollar.
of
And
course.
I did their whole program no cost because I
I've done that
fucking
too, of
could.
course.
And
Of
it's
course.
because they showed up every day or every session, and every day they did the work and they checked in when they needed to and they made sure they were using their tools properly,
Right.
and seeing them reclaim their lives even though I didn't get a payout. No, I don't care. because
Yeah. I
I
would
get
do
to
all
watch
of
them
it.
live their best life. and
Exactly.
and like what they're doing now is bigger by 10 times than their goals are when we first consulted. And
Absolutely.
it's like, no, I would do that. I would do it free for the rest of my life if I didn't have bills to pay.
Absolutely. And I feel exactly the same. And I feel like that's exactly what they mean by like do what you love and the money will follow thing. And I'm not saying like don't get your needs met or your
Yeah,
bills paid. That's
exactly.
not reality. Like I have done a lot of work around my self-worth. I know I'm worthy of whatever. And that's why I do get paid, right? So if I'm getting paid in another area and I choose because I choose to, not somebody's taking advantage of me or manipulating me. And I choose to do something, of service for somebody that, normally I would charge. That's a choice. And it's not that I'm sacrificing anything but my time. And if I choose to do that, then that's still going to feed me in some way or what have you. And I feel like because I would do this stuff for free, um, opportunities come your way because of that,
Exactly.
paid opportunities, because it offsets the ones that you are being of service, you are volunteering in other areas, you are doing whatever. So you are given lots of opportunities, and the opportunities may not look like what you would even do, but it allows you to keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly. Where can our listeners connect with you?
Okay, so, because I'm always growing and evolving and changing because I'm never going to be completely healed. I'm in between one website, the old, right, and the new, which is I'm still creating the container. And, it's interesting because I have a new great girl who's helping me with the website. She put up some of my pictures, but now I got new pictures. And we put in like some basic whatever on the new website. But when I went to write the copy, I'm like, oh my God, what's the new website going to be? Like, and now I'm like, oh my God, like I have all these ideas and none of it is being funneled yet into what that is. But anyway, so the old website is my name right here at the bottom of the screen, JacquieGrillon.com. That's my original website. And the new website, which is being built, but there's like a free download there, is Jacquie, my first name with a Q, inspires.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time for honestly this heartfelt and enlightening conversation. I hope that we have left our viewers inspired to better themselves in one way or another.
Yeah, it's not as hard as you think it is. And I can't, it's like when they talk about the MasterCard commercial, it is definitely priceless in the freedom, joy, and peace department for sure. Reese, it's
It
been a pleasure.
it
Thank
really
you.
is.